Hello everyone. Today we will move forward with our discussion on what parts of research paper are there. And we were last time we discussed about the methodology, and today we will start our discussion with results. So for all the parts of the research paper, this is one where you are expected to actually analyze the data you have gathered while researching. So in methodology and previous parts, you're just laying the foundation and introducing the topic or problem in hand, and you can say describing your method of addressing the problem. But in results, you are um, you can say analyzing the results or get, because it is a stage where you have gone through your experiments, initial analysis or whatever you are trying to do, and you have some data to analyze. You have gathered some data to analyze. So this analysis should align with your previously stated methodology, and it should be both point out. It should both point out any implications suggested by your data that might be relevant to different fields of study, as well as any shortcomings in your approach that would allow you to improve your results if you were to repeat the same type of research. So obviously, the results will comply or must comply with the objectives or research goals or research questions of your study, and you should point out, okay, the you can say main features of your data or your research uh, in this, and also try to uh, describe any shortcomings in your approach that would you can say allow you to improve your results. The page length of this section is set by the amount and types of data to be reported. Continue to be concise, using figures and tables if appropriate to present results most effectively. So this is very important. Normally, people do not report, you can say, raw data. They try to make it more readable and more visualizable, so that people can see it at their convenience and quickly understand what you are trying to convey. The purpose of a result section is to present and illustrate your findings. Make this section a complete objective report of the results, and save all interpretations for the discussion. So this should report all the results, and you can discuss is linked with the previous studies in the discussion part. You must clearly distinguish materials that would normally be included in a research article from any raw data or other appendix material that would not be published. In fact, such material should not be submitted at all unless requested by the instructor. So that's the difference. Actually, as I said, we do not report the raw data itself. We actually report it in the form of tables or figures or concise or compact figuring, in fact. And also times people try to use figures a lot, like charts, bar graphs, or whatever visualization technique is suitable for your data. Similarly, you should not, if the extra material or additional data is requested by your instructor or by your article, then you can include it in your appendix. Otherwise, you don't need to report it. So what goes into the contents of the results? You can summarize your finding in text and illustrate them if appropriate with figures and tables. In text, describe each of your results, pointing the reader to observations that are most relevant. So this is very important actually. Providing a context, such as by describing the question that was addressed, by making a particular observation. Then describe results of control experiments and include observations that are not presented in a formal figure or table if appropriate. But this depends on the type of study you are doing, and if that seems appropriate, then you can actually describe these results. Analyze your data, then prepare the analyzed data in the form of a figure or graph, table, or in the text form. So what should you avoid while writing down or composing this part of your research paper? Do not discuss or interpret your results. Do not report background information or attempt to explain anything. Never include raw data or intermediate calculations in a research paper because that doesn't matter. Do not present the same data more than once. So that is also important. Repetition should not be there. Text should complement any figures or tables, not repeat the same information. So it should be complementing the figures and tables instead of describing the whole figures or repeating the same thing again and again. Please do not confuse figures with tables. There is a difference. So obviously figures are something else and tables are something else. So do not think that tables and figures are same. So what should be the style of the results? Is always use past tense when you refer to your results and put everything in a logical order. Normally what people try to do this is that they arrange the results according to the objectives of the study or flow chart of your study. So sometimes a study have more than one objective and they try to so when you have multiple objectives to achieve or you have multiple research goals or multiple research questions, then report the results of the first one in the beginning and then moving on to the last one. So it should be in a logical order. In text, refer to each figure as figure 1, figure 2, etc. Number your tables as well. Place figures and tables properly numbered in order to in order at the end of the report. Clearly distinguish them from any other material such as raw data, standard curves. So this is very important that as your figures and tables should be numbered, and so that you can include indexing. You can say if you want to, or you can trace them back to the text. So, but like in modern days, when people you're using tools like LaTeX, it is automatically handled by LaTeX itself, and you don't have to worry about how to number them, and you just have to refer them into the text, and that's all. If you prefer, you may place your figures and tables appropriately within the text of your results section. So you can place them in this, but this is not necessary. You can otherwise you can place them anywhere and just refer them into the text. So figures and tables are very important part of results. Either place figures and tables within the text of the results or include them in the back of the report. Following the literature cited, do one or the other. If you place figures and tables at the end of the report, make sure they are clearly distinguished from any attached appendix materials such as raw data. So this is very important that appendix should be separate from the figure and table that are part of the original manuscript. Regardless of placement, each figure must be numbered consecutively and complete with caption. Regardless of placement, each table must be titled, numbered consecutively, and complete with the heading. So caption, that means that the text that describes the figures or tables, that is very important, and it should be aligned with the text you are quoting into. Each figure table must be sufficiently complete that it could stand on its own, separate from text. So next part of the you can say paper is discussion. The objective of the discussion is to provide an interpretation of your results and support for all of your conclusions using evidence from your experiments and generally accepted knowledge if appropriate. So you have reported results. Now you want to discuss over what those results imply, and you want to give the reader some you can say highlights of your results, what you have achieved by reporting those, by conducting those experiments and achieving those results. And you also try to you can say link those results with the previously accepted knowledge in the literature. So this is the place where and this is the section of the research paper where you do all this. So this section is discussion. Significance of findings should be clearly described. General guidance vary in discussion. Space is so valuable to some journals, so authors are asked to restrict discussions to 4 pages or less, double space type. If you practice economy of words, there should be plenty of space within what with to say all that you need to say. So interpret your data in the discussion in appropriate depth. This means that when you explain a phenomenon, you must describe mechanism that may account for that observation. If your results differ from your expectations, explain why that may have happened. So this is very important. Sometimes your results are telling a different story, and the people in literature have reported different outcomes. So this may happen a lot because this is science, and this is nothing is fixed. So when this happens, do not panic, because you try to understand and explain why this has happened. And this while you are answering why, your answer can or cannot be absolutely correct, but it should be your insights, that what do you think that why these results are different in the first place. So this is very important here. If your results agree, then describe the theory that the evidence support. It is never appropriate to simply state that the data agreed with expectations and let it drop at that. So it is not appropriate that if your expectations, if your results meet your expectations, and you just skip this discussion part. So it should not be done. You should always discuss it with some evidence. Decide if each hypothesis is supported, rejected, or if you cannot make a decision with confidence. Do not simply dismiss a study or part of the study as inconclusive. Research papers are not accepted if the work is incomplete. Draw what conclusions you can based upon the results that you have, and treat the study as a finished work. You may suggest future directions, such as how the experiment might be modified to accomplish another objective. So this is all you can discuss in discussion. Explain all of your observations as much as possible, focusing on mechanism. Decide if the experimental design adequately addressed the hypothesis and whether or not it was properly controlled. Try to offer alternative explanation if reasonable alternative exists. One experiment will not answer an overall question, so keeping the big picture in mind. Where do you go next? The best studies open up new avenues of research. What question remain? Recommendation for specific papers will provide additional suggestions. So this is all you can do in discussion. So actually writing results or any other part of paper is not troublesome or is not you can say tedious at all. Writing discussion is a very challenging sometimes because you have to explain why has happened and you have to link it to some domain knowledge, accepted knowledge as well, and to some previous studies as well. So that becomes sometimes you can say challenging, and you have to also see it from the you can say statistical point of view as well, that whether or not the hypothesis you have created should be accepted or not, and what is the reason that and what is the statistical reason that you are accepting or rejecting a particular hypothesis. So what goes in the when we writing in the our discussion, when you refer to information, distinguish data generated by your own studies from published information or from information obtained from other studies. Students, verb tense is an important tool for accomplishing that purpose. Refer to the work done by specific individuals, including yourself, in past tense. Refer to generally accepted facts and principles in present tense. For example, Rufus in 1989 survey found that anemia is this. So when you are referring a particular fact which is generally accepted among the field expert or researcher, you have to do it in present tense. The biggest mistake that students make in discussion is to present a superficial interpretation that more or less states the results. It is necessary to suggest why results came out as they did, focusing on the mechanism behind the observation. So as I discussed earlier, that it is very important that you discuss your results in this section and you try to give your overview if and that why the such results has been achieved, and what was the reason that you got such results, and if you have some general accepted principles or previous studies that are backing up your results, then it is very good, you should quote them. Otherwise you can explore your own thinking and brainstorm it and give the reader the reason that why it has happened in the first place. Next part is a conclusion. As you conclude your research paper, you should successfully reiterate your thesis statement along with your methodology and analysis data. By drawing all these elements together, you will reach the purpose of your research. So all that is left to point out your conclusions in a clear manner. So basically in this section, this is a very one of the last sections of your research paper, and you just try to conclude all of your work or that you have reported in your research paper into one paragraph or sometimes two paragraphs, and sometimes you also try to you can say give future perspectives in this one paragraph. The last paragraph is the last section is the sections where you actually collect the academic resources along with all publications you consulted while fleshing out your research project. You should make sure to list all these references according to the citation format specified by your instructor. There are various formats now in use, such as MLA, Harvard, APA, which although similar, rely on different citation styles, and that must be consistently and carefully observed. So citation style is different from institution to institution, or sometimes general to general, and you just have to comply with those citation style. These references are the such papers, or you can say academic sources that you have consulted by formulating all of your research work, or that you can say all of, while composing all of your research paper. Then appendix is education research papers often contain one or more appendices. Appendix contains material that is appropriate for enlarging the reader's understanding, but that does not fit very well into the main body of the paper. So all those things that you think that will give the reader an insight or in-depth insight into the in-depth understanding of the results. So you can include that in the appendix. Such material might include tables, charts, summaries, questionnaires, interview questions, lengthy statistics, maps, and so on. So these are long list of you can say documentation that can go into the appendices, and you can just remember this can or cannot be raw data, and you just have to include that in case you think that it will be vital. It can be helpful for the understanding of the reader, and all those things that you think that it should not be um, that should not be part of the main body of the research paper, but it can enhance the understanding. So that is the that is the kind of material that goes into the appendices. A paper may have several appendices. They are usually based after the main body of the paper, but before the bibliography or works cited section. They are usually designated by such headings as Appendix A, Appendix B, and so on. So that's all for now. And if you have any question, you can just post it in comment section, and or ask me directly through my contact number. Thank you. Bye.